Hey, welcome to Levelin Up podcast. I've got my good buddy Matt Gernetzke on today, and we have our little kiddos, and we are going to have just a blast talking about how to make a way. Now, I have been here in Wyoming. We're in Centennial, Wyoming. It is the 4th of July. We've got some boogers on the face of these guys, which is awesome. That's part of bringing kids to events. I love it.
Heck yeah.
But Matt, tell me a little bit about yourself and about some of the takeaways that you've had. And honestly, the thing that I'm most interested in is how you're going to make a way to change.
Yeah, so my name is Matt Gernetzke. I'm a father, currently in the military, in the Army still, for a few more years, and project management, construction, sales, kind of my background. But probably the biggest thing that I took away from this is actually something that I've heard before, but I think that's part of the power of making a way is you have to get yourself in the room and have exposure to things multiple times sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes we're not in the right state of mind where, something that has said you can't apply it yet. There's lots of things you can hear multiple times and take things away differently every single time. So one of the things was just setting yourself up for receiving. People are big on giving but not receiving, so having an open hand. But with that, setting yourself up for the next day. What I mean by that is, like, for myself, I do what I call a daily download. And that's basically putting everything down on paper, journaling. And one of the things that Greg had brought up in about a month ago that I didn't catch, but I caught this time, was being kind.
Yes.
And talking about one kind thing that you did for somebody, but then also one kind thing that you received, or how you received it. And really the impact of thinking about that at the end of the day, so that's in the back of your mind as you go to sleep, the gratitude, the gratefulness, the kindness, and setting yourself up the next day for that train of thought, that mindset, to put yourself out there to really make a difference in the world and change your kids' lives and your lives. And
I love that. What's funny was because of that instruction on day one, the last few days I've been looking intentionally, who is it that's been kind to me and how can I go out of my way to be kind and show that I care. And what was yesterday, you were the one that made my journal, by the way, because I was holding my little girl Dottie on my back and I was trying to get food and you're like, let me dish this up for you. I was like, man, that was very kind, thank you. And you never know when, like, a tiny little kind act can make someone's day. And you made my day yesterday, so thank you.
I appreciate that.
And one of the reasons why I really like focusing on kindness, like what you're saying is what's the worst that can happen? You're gonna be nicer to people. You're gonna look for the good in people, right? There's no downside. Yeah. So, in your experience, you just went through 3 awesome days of transformative things. I bet you have your mind swimming with ideas like I do. Yeah. How do you harness and focus in on that thing that you're like, this is going to move the needle the most. This is the thing that will make the biggest impact, and that's what I'm going to make way for in my future?
I think if I'm speaking for myself, I think the biggest thing that I like to do is, we're constantly pulling in data through our lives, whether it's social media, whether it's events, whether it's your kids, all of it. But the biggest thing is, again, going back to journaling and capturing the data for you to then prioritize, reorganize, and apply, because there's so much data that we consume, and it's filtering out the data that actually matters and then going through and prioritizing. So one of the things that I like to do after this is I sit down after an event or a big moment, and I reorganize the things, focus on the priorities, and then basically make a list of what the biggest thing that needs to happen. And one of the things that I forget the saying, it's really good, but basically the harder the thing is that you want to do, is probably the thing that you need to do the most. So there's a good saying that goes along with that that I can't remember, so I'm not going to try and butcher it. But basically, if your mind is telling you probably not to do it, and you kind of want to go the procrastination route, it's probably the thing you need to do right away. So
That's
I
key.
kind of look at that, and that's probably the first thing I prioritize.
So like, what's the work that I've been avoiding?
Right.
What's the hardest
Right.
thing that I can do? Often that's the work that needs to be done. We did an awesome song. We heard Greg and Kayla and Buddha Kai go and crush a new song. I'll post that on social media later and tag us so you guys can see it. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's called Do the Work.
Yeah. Do you do the work?
Do you do the work? So when we are focusing on doing the work, you have to first identify the work.
Yep.
You know, you come to events like this to recognize and open up your filter to what is possible for yourself. You're in the right rooms, you're creating the right associations. But after you've identified that work, what do you do to make a way now?
I think it's trying to figure out, one, can you do it yourself? Should you be doing it yourself? And if you don't know how to do it yourself, who is going to do it? You know, in Dan Sullivan and Dr. Ben Hardy, I think is his name, in their book, in all their books, they really talk about and focus on who, not how. So if you can identify at least the task that needs to be done, even if you don't know how to do it, you got to figure out who's going to do it. Is it going to be you, or is it going to be somebody else? And kind of prioritize the things that only you can do. I think that's part of making a way, is identifying what needs to be done, but then also who's going to do it, who's going to implement it. If it's not you, getting somebody else to do it, so then you can focus on the other things that you need to do to make a way.
Yeah, I think that's key, because you identify it and then you're like, is this my work?
Right.
Is this somebody else's work? Is this something that I need to do now, or is there a higher and better use of my time? And I think that's part of that hard decision that you make at the very beginning of any new step in your life, is what's the actual work, not the fun work, not the thing that I would enjoy the most. It's what is the thing that's going to move the needle the most, and sometimes that's the most uncomfortable thing.
Right.
And it's so important to get out there and be willing to do that. So with this last question, I'd love for you to share, Matt. What is the biggest encouragement that you've received this week to be able to say, I'm gonna take this next step? What's the biggest encouragement you felt?
Biggest encouragement, I don't know, excuse me, I don't exactly know what, there's been so many moments, but I think the root cause of the encouragement and the momentum and the movement that's going to come from this event is because of the people that I'm around, the community that I'm surrounded with, the village, the people, because they're the people that are going to keep me accountable, bring new ideas, encouragement, but that accountability is probably the biggest thing. Is there's so many people that impact your lives or have the ability to impact in a positive way and negative way, and the people that we are surrounding ourselves with, my family, my kids, everybody are positive people. And so focus on who you're surrounding yourself with. I think the encouragement becomes that much easier. And as Greg says, the community supercharges everything in your life. And I've seen that in the last 90 days since I've really been engaged in this community. But it really is the people you surround yourself, getting rid of the negativity and surrounding yourself with good people. So that encouragement doesn't just feed from this event, but it continues on because of the connections you make, the people you talk to outside of the event, and the impact that your kids have too. And I'll just share quick, like my kids, and this is the power of the community, right? And people you surround yourself. It's not just yourself, it's your kids, it's your wife. My wife and I have grown a lot. We're still growing a lot. And I have lots of growth to do. But my kids even have taken sayings that we now hear ourselves say, like Greg says, do you do the work?
Do you do the
my
work?
kids literally say, do you do the work, all the time. And they use that to go to bed. They use that to get into dance class by themselves. They use that to whatever it is, but they use that. And that's the power of the community and who you surround yourself with. It's not just yourself, but it's literally the trickle-down effect, the second and third order effects of who you are impacting not just yourself, but you're becoming a better person, positive or negative, right? But if you're becoming a positive person, a better person of yourself, better version of yourself, that is going to impact everybody else around you. And that's not just your friends and your coworkers, but it's your family, your kids, and that's probably the biggest takeaway of every single event, is literally changing the lives of the kids and the next generation. And I think that's probably the biggest way you can do that, is impact the kids.
Yeah.
It starts at the house. So.
You know, that makes me think of the way that we are being trailblazers. You know, we may be going into uncharted territory at times. We have a mentor that's been there, done that. They've cut and swathed a couple paths for us, and as we go, we make that path a little clearer. And as our kids follow us, that path has been made clear, and that way is clear because of our actions and how we're being really people that are obedient to the mentors. We're listening and we're doing, rather than just listening and listening and listening and listening and listening and not doing anything. It's the fact that we are doing the work that the path gets clear. So Matt, thank you so much for your insights, your ideas, who you are as a father. I appreciate, absolutely love spending time with you. Any last words of encouragement or thoughts?
Go out and do the work.
Absolutely. Do the work.
Appreciate you, Brigham.
Hey, I appreciate you too. Thanks so much, Matt. Love you.